us talk about working hard to fulfill our dreams. Well, our guest today went beyond talking. Serving as an inspiration, she reached for the stars and actually caught one in her career as an artist and puppeteer. With 30 years experience, we all have seen her amazing skills showcased in blockbuster films and television hits, as well as theme park attractions across the world. Welcome, Terri Hardin.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Terri, familiarize us with some of your most popular work.
The most popular work, I think the number one thing here in Florida, for example, is the Splash Mountain ride vehicle, which has the rabbit on the front and which has the wood texture on the sides. The rabbit actually is my creation, and you can find it both here and in Tokyo. It was probably my second time I was Imagineer, and then I left, and then I came back, and it was my first project after that, and it was probably one of the most fun and whimsical ones that I got to do.
But you've certainly been involved in a number of other popular things in pop culture, such as films and TV hits.
Yes, I've done probably, quite frankly, about 42 films and television. Among those, Ghostbusters, which continues to be the gift that keeps on giving. People just seem to have refined it and fall in love with it, the first one. Along that, Men in Black, both films, Flintstones, all the films. What else can I tell you? TV shows like Dinosaurs. I was there 4 years with Dinosaurs. Also did Indian in the Cupboard. Have worked with people like Jamie Foxx, who I did a puppet for years ago when he was trying to become a big deal. And then later on we met in Men in Black. So just countless little tiny films that you've never seen, shows that you've never seen. There's one out there that if you pay $1, you've paid too much, called T-Rex, about dinosaur cops with Whoopi Goldberg. But it gave me a wonderful opportunity to speak with someone like Whoopi, learn someone like Whoopi, who is just one of the nicest people you're ever going to meet. And then films like Monkey Bone, which were fun to shoot, you'll find, but not necessarily fun to watch. So
but a good experience nonetheless.
Yes,
Now, what
absolutely.
kind of things did you do to contribute to these films and hits, such as in Ghostbusters? What in that film is marked Terri Hardin?
Ghostbusters, the first thing you're going to see is the terror dog that Sigourney Weaver turns into. When interviewed for that job, they asked me as a puppeteer, would that dog be more feminine if worked with me inside it? Just so you know, the answer is yes. And I answered yes, and they put me up in the dog, and I performed it as Gozer the Gazarian. She pets both dogs. You've both seen it. I'm also the one in the refrigerator when Sigourney opens it, instead of eggs, she finds a dog. That is me as well. But I also built one of the most popular characters, which is the Marshmallow Man. We built 18 of those, three what we call hero characters, which are the ones that are shot from front, side, back, and look like they never have a zipper, but the actor needs to get inside. So if they were going to shoot from the back, the zipper was in the front. If they were going to shoot a 3/4 back, then the zipper was in the 3/4 front, and so on. So we did those, and then I puppeteered and articulated the face for that.
What about Men in Black?
And Men in Black, that was funny. Oh, and Captain EO, sorry guys, there's a lot. I'm realizing that there was a lot. But in Men in Black, I was brought in to be the 8-tentacled little octopus characters found in the alien lair, and also the scrubbing bubbles.
The one that gives birth to in the car?
Well, the one that's out in what you call Men in Black Central. Yeah, and they have names. You guys know it. I wouldn't, I'm sorry. But there's 2 tentacle creatures that Rip Taylor stands between and introduces him, and he's kind of like this, and they have one eyeball, and they look at each other and stuff. And then there's the little scrubbing bubbles that run around. In Men in Black 2, I played a shark-headed bounty hunter, but he was cut from the bounty hunter film because they were afraid he'd be too scary. So, and he was scary. He was really a lot of fun to do, but unfortunately, we didn't get to do that character. So now, it's just wonderful to be able to continue to speak at colleges and universities as much as I can about building your dreams and just going for it.
Now, how did you get your start?
Well, I started out as most of you do, a young artist that had a huge dream, and the first thing that I can tell you, and often talk about it in the book as well, Tales from Terri, the reason I wrote it is mainly for anyone who wants to be an artist for a big company, whether you're actor, performer, artist, sketch artist, animator, it's all kind of the same process. You want to document your work, and it talks about sort of step by step my journey, and then also how you can prepare now, whether you're 6 or 60, for that opportunity that may come along. So the very first job that happened was a little job called BB Beagle for Hanna-Barbera. Muppets had just announced that they were their final year, and all the industry was trying to ride the Muppet bandwagon and do that happen. Well, I had been building puppets for 7 years as a young child, as a young person. I was 16 years old at the time. And he saw my work and just went, oh my God. And that's what you want to happen. You want them to see what you've been doing, even if you hate it, and then they see your journey and they say, wow, this person is really dedicated to what they wanted to do. They just kept doing it, because you never know what it is that they see that you're going to fall in love with. And then the second thing was Dune, the movie Dune. I had built my costumes and things out of foam, like the foam you find in your couches and chairs, because I couldn't afford the clay and the mold making. Then I came to find out that that's the way the industry does it. They sculpt in foam. So all of a sudden they saw my work and they said, how did you think to sculpt in foam? I couldn't afford the other stuff. And I thought, well, you're one of the greatest foam sculptors we've ever seen. Well, it was because I was broke, you know? So they hired me. I ended up doing an amazing costume for not only Kyle MacLachlan, but for a man who was going to play Gurney Halleck from the film Dune. And it was a place where I actually got to meet the author, Frank Herbert. So if you don't like Dune, you love the books, but you didn't like the movie, understand Frank had nothing to do with that. The producers decided to consolidate all the films in one, and they did it without any of the approval of the author. So he was heartbroken and got angry, as many did, and that was that for that film. And then after that, it was Ghostbusters, and Ghostbusters came along, again spoken about in this book, about the relationships you build. Even if you're in high school, you're going to build relationships with people, and they're going to go on, but if you keep in touch, and Facebook is a great way to do that now. Back then we didn't have that, because I'm like older than I look. But, but we didn't have that. So to keep those relationships with your friends is very important, because you never know when somebody's going to say, hey, I've got a way that you can get in. And that's happened. And that's how I became an Imagineer, really.
That's really exciting. And did you hit any roadblocks along the way that you had to kind of overcome?
Always, always. This book talks about that, as a matter of fact. It talks about the rejection letters I got from Imagineering over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have to be worthy of your dream. So you're going to have dream stealers come along. You're going to have naysayers come along. And the main thing that you really want to remember is how important, if you say whatever it takes, remember what you say. Whatever it takes. Really hear those words. Whatever it takes. And if you mean it, then it means whatever it takes. If you're stomped into the ground, that is your journey. That is part of your process. So that's what happened, and that I hit many roadblocks. I am of mixed races, and back in the day when I was born, a lot of people didn't like the fact that I looked light-skinned but have a very black background. My dad's black, my mother's white. So a lot of people would bully me because of it, because I looked different. Maybe they didn't do it because of my parents, but they did it because they did not like the fact that I had black attributes and looked white. They weren't sure, but they utilized that quite a bit when I was growing up. So again, at the time, did I like it? No. Did I like being shoved in lockers? Did I like having my bra put in the freezer? Not really. I didn't say, woohoo. It just was one of those things that as a child I had to get used to. And there were many things that happened that were really devastating. Like in the 8th grade, my hair was set on fire. A kid literally ran out and set my hair on fire because he hated me. That's why he wanted to do it. Luckily, I had friends with very fast hands, and it didn't damage me at all, but it could have been awful.
Absolutely.
And today with bullying, it frightens me because kids are really taking their own lives, and it's hard to understand how it can be so bad. But if you're getting bullies come in all sizes, they can be your parents, they can be your family, they can be kids at school, they can be your teachers. And so if you're getting it from all sides, I guess it looks a little hopeless. But I want to encourage you, if you are being bullied, to turn to art. And I speak on a subject awesome, you know, that's what I want to do. That's what I do is continue to speak more and more to young people about alternatives to suicide and things like that. When you're bullied, what can you do to get back on track and to defeat it, you know?
Well, you're certainly inspirational as far as taking really negative and traumatic experiences and then turning them into something so positive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of, we like to focus on the theme parks here at Orlando Attractions.
Yay!
And you have done extensive work in that industry. Let's focus a little bit on that. Can we talk about some of the things that you've done, specifically in Orlando, I suppose?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Imagine you're an artist. And imagine one day you're told that you're going to design an attraction for the greatest company in the world, Walt Disney Imagineering, Walt Disney Productions, Walt Disney Pictures, you name it. And it doesn't sink in because you're an artist and you dig deep and you focus. But then the next thing you do is you go to Florida, you go to Splash Mountain, you sit in that boat, your boat that you carved the outside of, you pet your rabbit, and you watch your rabbit as you go down that flume. It's an experience you are never going to forget. People say, what legacy will you leave? For me, you can sit in, pet, walk over, and walk through attractions that I've done. Dragon's Lair Paris is the most popular. Dragon's Lair Paris made me cry the first time I saw it. The dragon is mine, the show design is mine, everything in there I designed from the ground up. Do I get credit for it? Not really, but those who know me know it's mine, and those who know what's going on, but it's just, it's beyond, you know. The boat was originally designed for Tokyo, and then Florida really liked it, so they took it on. Was it easy? It was a real hard battle, because I was put in MAPO, which was stood for Mary Poppins. They call it something else now, something a little more classy, I think. But back then it was MAPO, which meant anyone who built the animatronics, who built the inner workings of the characters that we sculpted. But it was a male-dominated section. And it was kind of like a woman walking into a barber shop. If you're a guy, you know what I'm talking about. If you're a woman, you may not. But if you ever walk into a barber shop, the men get really quiet. And what you don't realize is that that's where they sort of get down and frank with each other. They're men, they be men, right? They get to say things they wouldn't necessarily say in the presence of a lady. And so they don't really like when a woman is sitting there. Maybe she's texting or something. They don't care. They can't be themselves and kind of be vulgar or whatever. Whatever they want to do, they can't do it. Well, it was the same in MAPO. So they really hated me. They really did not like me being there. And I kept thinking it was me personally. And I started to respond to them in a negative way. And what I want to encourage you to do is, if you're with someone who's with you negative, try to find out what it is about them that's making them so negative. So what I did was I started to sculpt little characters out of clay of everyone in the MAPO office. They were cartoon caricatures. It took me about an hour. And I would just whip them up. I would notice certain attributes about them. And they'd sit them outside my boat sculpting area and not say anything. And one day somebody's like walking by and he's like, is that me? And now your heart's beating because you know, are they going to get angry?
What's the response?
Are they going to be mad? Are they going to be mad? Are they gonna be... And instead I said, yeah, it's how I see you. You see me like that? And I said, yeah. Can I have it? Sure, you can have it. It's you. And before you know it, we were all friends. So I had to be there. That's where Disney put me. I could not be relocated. So I had to finish the boat, and that was where they put me. And what happened was we all became great friends, and we're still friends today. And the person who hated me the most became my best friend, and used to keep me there long after hours, talking about how he constructed things and how he did the animatronics and everything. So you'll be surprised what you can do, but try to just think out of the box and not, your normal reaction as a human being is to say, well, you don't like me, I don't like you either, you know? But if you just try to be that bigger person and think about how they're feeling. Doesn't always work, but when it works, it's really, really special.
That's awesome. You've had some really great experiences in the Disney company, and in time they put you in different places, such as Captain EO. You've gotten to work with some really great people because of that. Tell us a little bit about that experience and your role in everything.
Phone rings, and a guy says, "Yo, Terry, you want to work with Michael Jackson?" And really, guys, I don't listen to a lot of music, so I didn't know who he was, but I was like, yeah, that's okay. Okay, I'd like that, yeah. Would you like to work with George Lucas? I'm a Star Wars fan, so getting a little better. Or Francis Ford Coppola? Oh, I'll work for free. Because I was a big fan of Francis Ford Coppola and Godfather films. And so they said, well, we need you to report down to the stage. You're going to be building the Whip Warriors. That was my first job. Well, while I'm down there building the Whip Warriors, which is just, I mean, come on, it's Captain EO. I'm not sure what it is, but it's for Disney. It's Captain EO, and I'm one of these people that doesn't know in the beginning that it's a good thing, but I knew it wasn't bad. I was being paid, it was good. So they call me at home while I'm on the stage to audition for the puppets. And they keep saying, get back to us. So I would call them and say, I'm down in stage 27. You're in 11, just step out, look left. And then they'd call and they go, you know, if you don't contact us, we're gonna have to pass you by. I was like, are you kidding me? How many times have I left this message? So I had to walk down, stand in front, and I said, here you're looking for me. I'm Terri Hardin, I'm over there. You're working here? Yeah. Oh, well, we wanted you to audition for the characters of the puppets. Now I play Idie and Odie. How did I get that? You'd love to say it was because I was talented, but the reason I originally got Idie and Odie was because the puppet weighed over 30 pounds and I was the only one who could lift it. So that's how I got it. I could not only lift it, but I could perform it. So that's how I got this character. Very heavy two-headed bird character. Unbelievable. But it meant 2 weeks with Michael Jackson that turned into 6 months working side by side with Michael, which was just a dream come true. I may not have been a fan before, but I was definitely a fan after I got to know him. One day we were having lunch together, another great honor. I know you guys are like probably going, and I was happy about it, but he asked me my favorite actress, and I told him that my favorite actress was Elizabeth Taylor. And he said, why? And I said, because I love Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. Long as she can, honey, long as she can. That woman can rock a slip. So he laughed, and the next day he came on set, and I was being pulled out of the bird character, and the bird character makes you sweaty, doesn't make you attractive by any means. And he says, Terry, I have someone for you to meet. And I turn around, and no lie, it was Liz Taylor.
Oh
I hear you're very talented, she says. And I'm like, ah! You know how you are when you say something, ah, my hands are sweaty, hi, how you doing? You know? And it was phenomenal. She autographed my laser disc. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's a big vinyl. Not Vinylmation, a round thing that's big that plays movies. But anyway, Michael Jackson had never seen one either. But yeah, she autographed that for me. And then years later, I did Flintstones, and she was to play the mother. And I thought to myself, I wonder if she remembers me. And my friends at Henson, I was working with Jim Henson at the time, said, oh, name dropper. And I was like, look, I don't care if you believe me or not. I met her. I love her. I wonder if she will remember me. And I was standing on the set of Flintstones, and behind me she said, is that my good friend Terri Hardin? And I went, oh. And the fact of the matter, Elizabeth Taylor never forgot a name. And Michael Jackson never forgot a name. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not real good with names. I try to be better every day. I get better every day. But it's a challenge, meeting so many people wanting to know and remember their name. And to just see these people that are so important to other people, they remembered everybody's name. To hear Michael Jackson say, Terry, I've missed you, is one of those things that I'm sure if you had met him acquaintance-wise, chances are he would have remembered it.
What a memory.
Just amazing.
You also have a memory with Angelica Houston.
Angelica was something else. We sat down for the script reading of Captain EO, and Angelica was not friendly. And it was sad because I had been a fan of hers for some time. But when she sat there, originally in Captain EO, they had a princess. Because back then you had Billie Jean, you had Thriller for Michael, so they wanted to have this love interest, you know? And so they went casting for 2 weeks of the love interest. We had made over 30 costumes for this young lady to be the princess that Angelica Houston turned into as the witch. When she came, she announced that she was not going to just play the witch, she was also going to be the princess. And Francis Ford Coppola said, "Queen, dear, you're a little old to play the princess." "Queen then," she said. But then that girl was let go. Those costumes were put in a storage locker somewhere, and they redesigned, they flew her designer out. She designed, all the gowns were designed for her by her personal designer. And we were kind of like, wow, you know. Then we did improvisation. And certain people who are in the room now, they'll remain nameless, are doing improvisation. And this is a big deal with Francis Ford Coppola. He always rehearses his cast with improvisation for a full week before we go to set. He said this is a way for them to express themselves as their character and see how they can think on their feet. It just sort of polishes them up a bit. So because I was a puppeteer for Idie and Odie, I really didn't have a character to do, so we were grouped with the people who wore the costumes of these characters. So we had this improvisation where, and if you haven't done it yet, you will, where each person or each group is given a secret. So there were all of the animal characters and puppeteers. We were a group. And then there was Michael Jackson, he was his own group. And then you had Angelica Houston, she was a separate group. Now Angelica's given a secret, Michael's given a secret, then we're given a secret, and then Francis Ford Coppola says, "And go." So our secret was we were not to behave Michael under any circumstances. As much as he asked us to behave, we were in a camp, that was the setting, camp, a little camp, and we were his kids that he was taking care of, and we were not to behave. Then Michael's secret was he had to make us behave in fear of getting fired. Angelica's secret was she was coming to fire him. And go. So we're pulling on Michael and we're jumping, "Michael, play with us, and we're rolling and we're climbing on the furniture and we're being really bad. And he's like, "Please, you have to be good. You don't want your counselor to be fired, do you? Don't do it, please." And then Angelica entered the room. And all of us went, and Michael went, and she walked over to Michael, because you know she's the supreme leader. So she walks over like this. She grabs Michael by the collar. She lifts him up off the ground, and she puts him face to face. "You insignificant little worm, you're fired." Now we're on a soundstage. Soundstages are slick. She throws him across the soundstage. He loses his balance and slides on his behind for about 10 feet. "And stop," says Francis. We look over at Michael and he's like this. "Michael, are you okay?" And he never would go near Angelica Houston again.
She sounds like a very powerful presence.
He was terrified of her.
And you got to double for her.
I doubled for her.
In Captain EO.
Here's why. She would not fly above 5 feet. She flies 20 feet in the film. She would not do it. She said, "Get Terri to do it." She's stupid. I mean, she could do it. And I was crazy enough to do it. I love to fly. But the problem was that when I was put up in the harness, Michael wouldn't act. He was so terrified of her that he would, "I'm Captain EO, and I am your," because he was so scared of her. So when I was in the outfit, we looked so much alike as the witch. He continued to do that with me. So I had to come down. And I said, "I need to come down," and they wouldn't let me down. And then when they let me down, they did this. Ah! Grabbing it just before my face hits the concrete floor. But then I went over to Michael and I went, "Michael Jackson!" And he went, "Ah!" And I said, "It's Terri. Do you realize it's Terri inside here?" And he's like, "Terri?" "Yes, so now you can act so I can come down before Christmas, okay?" You gonna be Captain EO for me? You know it's me, it's not her, okay? He goes, okay. So up we went, and that's the performance you see. Because a lot of the times you only see glimpses of me stunt doubling for her when you see the long shots. When you can recognize the witch, it's always Angelica. But I was there to help Michael, because we would still be there if it wasn't for that. So what a great experience for me, but more importantly, what a good thing for Michael, because what a performer, what an amazing performer.
It certainly is a great performance, one we all still watch today. Now all of this culminates in your book that you've written, Tales
Yeah,
from
I'm shamelessly
Terri.
holding it here.
Yes, so what can we expect to find in this book?
Now this book is a little bit different because, as I said, your journeys are your journeys. This book was created for collectors. Collectors started collecting my miniature work at events in 1998. How did this happen? I'm at an antique store, meet Tony Baxter, say everybody's hiring me to do Disney work, but they're not Disney. Tony says, become a collectible sculptor, and bam, I'm a collectible sculptor. That's the beauty of Tony Baxter. I started to collect these pieces, but they sold so quickly. Many of my collectorship that came later never got to see the early pieces. So they kept saying, would you put a book together that shows your work before we knew you as collectors? So that's what this little volume 1, it says right here, is, because I realized I had more. I wanted it to be a thin book. You see that, guys? So you could carry it. Those of you who are collectors know it's like a tome, and you're like, you can't take it with you. Look at the drawings and maybe match it. I know how you guys like to do that. And so there's photos in here. For those of you who like covers only, you got that. For those of you who like photos, you got that. That's me and Guillermo del Toro. Why is he there? He's my biggest fan, if you can believe it. I didn't. You'll see these lines here. This is a place for you to write down your ideas if you're a young artist. There's also places for you to sketch. There's the added bonus of being able to contact me via Facebook right here so that we can brainstorm about your work. What do you want to do? You've had a bad day, you talk to me, because I will never tell you you can't, okay? So that's what this was for, to fold. And it's in big letters. Most people think that's because I'm 56. But the reason I did the big letters is because I'm 5 years old mentally. And this kind of helps you feel like you're talking to a 5-year-old. So you really get to come follow me and then be in the journey, get to see it and understand that it's possible. And this is only volume 1. So what's in volume 2? A little more collectibles. Volume 3 will be the commission work, the piece I did for Guillermo, which was Pirates of the Caribbean, personalized for him. It took me a year to create it because it was detailed, that's what he loves. And then there'll be a box set offered soon. It's probably gonna be way down the line. And in that, I would like to ask collectors to send me their stories if they own my work, because that bonus book will be stories from them, how they liked it when they collected. I had a lady who collected my carousel horse, and she kept the original email. She bought it in 2000, and she sent me the original email of our conversation. So it's stuff like that that'll kind of take you back in time in the stuff like that. But yeah, this book is basically just to help you guys and be a fun little book. Also the price point, because let's face it, the tomes are not 20 bucks. The tomes are like what? They're just, come on, I mean, really, you know? And I know you don't want to sell your firstborn for every Disney book. I get that. So I kind of am an advocate for the pass holder, because I are one, so that's why.
Well, it's so exciting. We've all got the start of something really great here. It sounds like we've got more exciting things to look forward to coming from you. Thank you so much for your time and talking with us today, Terri.
Thank you. And if I can speak at your event or do something like that, I'd love to. You can catch me at most of the Disney races. I'm kind of addicted. So that story later, okay? But yeah, I've had a great time, and you're lovely. Well, looking at her smile is worth it, isn't it?
I love her already.